Hey everybody, and welcome to a Tatter-a-fact here at the Girlz Inc. studio in Las Vegas. And today I got a local guest. And look, if you guys are conference goers, you may know her. Her name is Melissa Palacios. So hey, Melissa.
Hi.
Hey, thanks for coming down here.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I have not had a conference owner on the show yet.
Oh, super.
Yeah, you're my
super
first
excited.
one. Yeah. So I thought it would be really, really interesting to talk about a lot of the things that people are interested in what like makes a great conference. First, let's give the dates of your
Okay.
conference. So the let me do a little bio, and then we'll do you a little bio. So
Okay.
the PMU, the Vegas PMU conference, it's at the Cosmopolitan this year, 2023, October 15th through the 19th.
Correct.
You've got 7 conferences under your belt, done and over with,
Yeah.
and this is going to be your 8th one.
Yes.
So in my opinion, that makes you a conference specialist, a conference master, if you will, right? I mean, 7. A lot of
Yeah.
people that get into conferences, myself included, I did 3 with America the Beautiful. And I think a lot of people that get into conferences, they'll do a few or a couple, and then they dip out and they don't do them anymore because of
Yeah.
all the hard work, the stress, the anxiety, the sleepless nights, all that stuff that goes into a conference. But I would love for you just to give a little backstory on how and why you got into PMU conferences.
Sure. Definitely was something that we kind of fell into, literally. Our oldest daughter decided to get into the PMU industry. She was always obsessed with eyebrows, so she got into microblading. And her first year in, she was invited to attend a conference by her mentor. I believe it was in Japan. And we thought, well, that would be really cool. That seems like a really neat experience. But it was really far. She was young. And so, we kind of thought, nah, not this time, maybe next time. So because she was in PMU, we started talking, and us being in Vegas, my husband says, well, we should do a conference in Vegas. It's like the fun capital of the world. There's lots of venues, lots of conferences, shows here. We should do it in Vegas. My first thought was like, what? Like, what do you mean we should do a conference here? He's like, yeah. He goes, we can invite artists like they did from around the world, all different countries. And that way, girls who live in the U.S. could go, like our daughter, and it wouldn't be so far for them. It would be in the U.S. And at that time, we hadn't done a lot of research, so we didn't know if anyone else was doing conferences. But we knew that Vegas would be a very, very exciting place for people to come from around the world. And then my husband had a history of working as a banquet waiter. So he was very familiar with hosting events and weddings and parties, and kind of knew that whole side of the industry, which I didn't know. My daughter was in the PMU industry, so she had a lot of artists that she was already following and watching that she loved. And then my role at that time was kind of more and more the organizer. I'm more of like a planner, so immediately my mind's racing, like, how do we plan this? How do we start this? Like, how do we do it? So that's kind of how it started. It was kind of just something to do for fun that we thought, well, it'd be a great experience to do it here.
Yeah, and here you are. You started in 2017.
Yeah.
And so obviously you enjoy doing it.
Right, we do.
Right?
And yes.
So I came to your conference last year. That was my first time at your conference, and it was like a last minute thing. We were supposed to be in Florida at another conference, and I think it was the hurricane.
Yeah.
And it got canceled.
Oh, yeah.
So last minute, like Kat emailed you guys and like, hey,
Yeah.
can we like join you? And you created a little spot for us. You welcomed us. We didn't even have our banners. We weren't even like professional. I think we were even a little self-conscious. Yeah, Kat? Kat's here with us, and a little self-conscious about the way we were kind of presenting ourselves because we're used to having our big banners and being prepared. But it's like all that anxiety I had about not looking professional, not having my banners. it was within, just a couple of hours of being there first day, that just all kind of melted away for me and my whole team. We got to meet your husband. He was super warm.
Yeah.
The energy of the conference was super positive, which is something I look for when I go to conference. It's not always that way. Sometimes the energy is not positive. Sometimes it can be cliquey.
Yeah.
And things like that. And we loved it. Me, my wife, my whole team. We had an absolute blast.
I'm so glad.
Honest to goodness, I thought it was really super well run. The energy was great. The venue was beautiful. It had a great flow. The timing was great. It stayed on time. And I loved that it was here in Vegas. And what I love, Melissa, is you're Vegas. You and your husband, you are Vegas. We weren't born here, but we both have been Vegas since back in the day. You've been here 30 years or so, myself included.
And my husband too.
Yeah. And so I remember Kat and I standing there feeling so proud.
Oh, I'm so glad.
And it's not even my conference. And I didn't even know you.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, I was just so proud. I'm like, this conference is in my home, my city, my home city, which I love. I love Vegas. I'm so passionate about Vegas, and I have such deep rooted feelings, for Vegas. I was just really, really proud. That's I don't know any other way to say it.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to hear it, because that is our goal. Like, we really truly want everybody to have a good experience, and that comes from attendees, speakers, vendors, everyone.
Right.
And I think because we do it because we want to, because we kind of fell into it, but we enjoy it. And so we're always we're always talking, like, how can we make it better? How can we make it funner? My husband, we talked about this. He goes around and checks on everybody. Are you doing good? Are you guys happy? Do you have everything you need? Because we truly want everyone to have a good experience. So when you say that, it makes me very happy.
Yeah. It shows. It shows. And I wouldn't say that. I'm not a candy coater or somebody that just kisses ass or no. I'm super genuine about that. And so I'm really excited to have you here and talk about conferences a little bit. I don't think, or I wonder if people attending the conferences really understand the work behind a great conference. Great being keyword, because not every conference is created equal. There are some conferences that are just not, they're just not well run, or they're not well organized, or it just feels like there wasn't a lot of thought or concern or organization put into them.
Yeah.
And it was the complete opposite with yours. So how far out in advance? So the next conference is this October, right? The 15th through the 19th.
Right.
So when did you start working? Do you start working on the next conference the day 2022 conference ends?
We are actually planning 2024 right now.
You're planning 2024.
Yeah.
And 2023 hasn't even taken place yet.
Yeah.
And I don't think people get that.
Yeah. No, it's a lot. It's a lot of moving parts, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So you've been doing this since 2017. What were probably you got a whole list of mistakes and stuff that you messed up in the beginning, because I did as well.
Yeah.
But let's just narrow it down to two. Not to put you on the spot, but what were the two maybe biggest mistakes you made and had to rectify?
Yeah. So after COVID, during COVID, 3 weeks before COVID, actually, let me back up, our conference got canceled that year. And so we went online. We switched everything to online, and we wound up doing it through an app, which was amazing. So when 2021 conference came, it was our first conference that we were going to do that was going to be hybrid.
Okay.
And we were super excited about that.
So hybrid, you mean in person and online,
right?
Just so our listeners know. Okay.
And it was going to be streaming live.
Okay.
So it wasn't going to be online where they would just get a link with a replay. It was actually interactional. They were on the app. It was streamed live, and they could interact and ask questions.
So as the speakers on stage,
Yes.
Everybody on the app online who
Yes.
only signed up for online, they're actually watching
Yes.
live streaming.
They're watching live
Oh my
streaming.
gosh.
They can comment. They can
Okay.
chat.
Okay.
They can participate in the giveaways. We
Okay.
include them in as much as we can. So, you know, we're ready. You know, we think we've got everything ready. We're ready to start on the 8 a.m. and the audio isn't working for online. And of course, it's not me. It's the hotel.
Right.
You know, it's the audio engineers, which they assured me it'd be okay.
Right.
And so
Well,
I'm
they
just,
always assure you
Yeah.
everything's good. Don't worry about it. It'll
and
be
I was
okay.
a stress ball
Yeah,
about it. I
yeah.
kept saying, "Can we do a test run?
Right.
Can I just add the app?" And they said, "No, they got it. It'll be fine. They'll be there at 7, an hour before. It'll be fine." So I was so anxious about it. And then my worst nightmare comes true because the conference starts live. Everyone's doing great. Everyone's fine. Online through the app, I'm watching the chats and people are saying, "I can't hear. Where's the sound? This is not good." I was worried about attending online. My worries came true. I regret signing up. So I started getting kind of all these like really mean, upset messages. And my
Yeah.
goal is, of course, to do the best job. So I really take it to heart when it's not.
So you're panicking.
Absolutely. Panicking. I'm telling the engineer, hey, like they can't hear online. They can't hear online. He's trying to fix it. So I immediately start, you know, messaging everybody back. They're working on it. We'll get it up as soon as we can. Please just be patient. Give us a moment. But that was a very anxious time for me. And it took about 30 minutes and they got it online. And it was perfect. And then everybody started calming down saying, "Oh, we can hear it perfect. Thank you. It's great. It's this, it's that." But just those comments coming in, you know, right off the bat when we're
Yeah.
just starting,
Right.
it's like those fears you have. You have a fear of failing.
Yeah. And I think, you know, and probably, and what doesn't help, it just seems like people have gotten really impatient.
Oh,
Like the
absolutely.
second, I mean,
Absolutely.
something's not going right, a bunch of people, not everybody, of
Right.
course, but you know, a bunch of people just like start getting all up on your dizzle like right away, and they're
Yeah.
panicking and they're wanting their money back, and which
Yeah.
adds to your stress and your panic. If
Oh,
people
yes.
would just chill out for a minute, let you get the audio, right?
Yeah. And it was fixed. I mean, the engineer fixed it. He connected. He did what he needed to do. And I had some people that were nice in defending me, like, "Give her a minute. She said they're fixing it. I'm sure it'll be fine." So I was thankful for those people. But, you know, you just remember the 5 to 10 people that were upset is what we tend to do. We
Right.
don't look at the people that
Because
were.
they're the loud ones, right? That's what it's like, the negative news. That's
Yeah.
the news that always,
Yeah.
you know, makes the headlines and everybody keys into. But it's yeah. So
Yeah.
I know. So, okay. So what was the mistake in that? Like what, sourcing out your audio to the hotel, or
I think I'll blame the hotel on that one. No, I wanted to do the pre-run and we didn't. So
Right.
the way it was connected from their audio to the app,
yeah.
it was just not done. I think there was like a direct connect they were supposed to do, and they kind of went around it. It was like connected through my laptop, so they had to do it direct, something like that. But I think now, obviously, for the next year, it was smooth, no problems, no glitches. We're experts now because we went through that year. But I think the other mistake I made too was it's hard to ask for help.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people feel that. I don't like to bother people. I know everyone's busy doing their thing, so it's very
Right.
hard for me to ask. And so that year too, I kind of took everything on myself.
Yeah.
And I mean, that conference, I think I told you I got 2 or 3 hours sleep a night.
Well, and you
It
might
was-
not have realized what you were taking on
I
either,
didn't.
Melissa, because, you know, you went into it with all great intentions and this, that, and the other. And sometimes we just can't, you know, forecast or foresee what we're actually getting ourselves
Yeah.
into and what it's going to take.
Yeah.
Just getting to know you, you know, you're the type, you want it perfect. You want
Yeah.
your, you know, you take seriously, they're spending a lot of money to get here, their airfare, hotels, and you take that, you know, really personally.
Yeah.
And you feel really responsible. And so, so I get it. So did you not tell me that, was I mistaken? So now actually friends and family are doing your audio,
Yes.
your video, and all this stuff. So you
Yeah.
don't source it out to the hotel anymore.
No, the hotel requires their engineer be there. So they're
Right.
kind of on staff doing
Right.
nothing.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, we
on
have
staff doing nothing.
yeah, and staff billing us at a very high rate.
I was going to say, are you sure nothing?
Yeah.
I think they're probably at least billing you.
Yeah. Well, and I have to say, they're
Sending
making
invoices.
yeah, a very large amount.
Yeah.
They're making sure the screens are up and the lighting's up, I guess. But the guy looks pretty
I
bored.
think we dealt with this too, because we did ours
Yeah.
at the Nugget, and it's like
They require.
yeah, because it's like an insurance thing,
Yeah.
a liability thing. I
Yeah.
think that they're so well. Good for you. So now it's like you and your husband, you run it. Like you're the admin, you're the organizer, you do all that. Your husband's the schmoozer, the
Yeah.
announcer. He
The
goes around,
MC.
the MC.
Yeah.
He goes around, he talks to all the vendors, he
Yeah.
makes everybody feel at home, and all your friends and family
Yep.
are now doing the video, the app, the audio,
The
and all that
uploading
stuff.
of the replays.
So it's become kind of a family thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if I've come across that yet in conferences.
Yeah, no, it's all our family and friends, and it I think really changes the atmosphere because everyone's rooting for us, but they all want it to be a success. It's not just they're there getting paid their hourly pay; like they actually care.
It's probably a big part of
Yeah.
your success with this conference, because no one is going to care about your business or your customer as much as your husband, your
Right.
family, your besties. No one.
Right.
Right? If you're
Yeah.
just hiring people you don't know and it's a paycheck
Yep.
to them, it's just another job to them.
Exactly.
But to your friends and your family and your husband, it's not just it's an experience. It's
Yeah, and if anybody goes up and asks a question or has an issue, they immediately take
Yeah.
care of it or run back to me. Hey, this lady has this happening. She needs help with this, and we go and we try to fix it, help them, whatever we need to
Right,
do to
right.
make them feel comfortable.
right.
So,
So are you better delegating now? Like not taking everything on yourself, or are you still
I think it's innate in me. In every way, in every aspect of my life, I feel like I'm a middle child. I don't know. They say that tends to be a middle child thing. Like you don't ask for help, kind of just do your thing.
right?
But no, last year I did. I got a lot more help, and I was able to sit at the lunches because the year before I didn't eat lunch.
Yeah.
I was able to enjoy the parties and really get to talk to the artists, talk to the attendees.
I think
and
that's
be a part of
important,
it.
and I think it's
Yeah.
really good for you, and I think
Yeah.
it's good for your
Oh, yeah.
attendees. Like I think a lot of the attendees, they want to meet and know the conference owner. I think because I think a lot of people, most I would say, if not all, are really appreciative
Oh, that's
of people like you and other conference owners that
Yeah.
are putting in the work and sacrificing to put on these shows, because
Yeah.
it's a big show,
yeah.
and a lot goes into it. So and they want to get to know the conference owner. I think a lot
And
of
I
them
enjoy
do.
it too. I mean, I'm a talker, I'm social, so I like walking
Yeah.
around and getting to know everybody and meeting them and talking with them and hearing where they're from.
Yeah,
I mean, every year I take it as a compliment
yeah.
that they've come from Germany. We have a guy from Nigeria who comes every year.
Oh, not fantastic.
Yeah, I love him. We have people come from the UK. We have in Australia. I mean, just all over. So I know what it takes to
Yeah.
travel and the time and the money and to get there. So that to me is a compliment that they took that time.
Yeah, you're creating community,
Yeah.
right? If a conference is done well
Mm-hmm.
and with the right intention behind it,
Yeah.
and yours have been going on since 2017.
Yeah.
So now it's year after year. You're actually creating community, Melissa,
And so many collaborations.
via conference.
And collaborations.
Yeah.
I mean, people come up to us, hey, I met, so-and-so last year, one of the vendors made a connection in South Korea. Another one made connections in Japan. And they come up at the break. Guess what, Melissa? We made this connection. We're going to work together. Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yes.
That's what we want to hear.
Yeah,
Or artists who maybe don't offer something another artist does are going to refer to each other now because they didn't know each other,
Right.
lived so close to each other.
Right.
And then they meet at the conference and they're like, oh, you live right by me.
Yeah.
Like we can help each other.
100%. And I
Yeah.
think for a lot of artists, they're isolated,
Yeah.
right? They're in areas, rural areas, or in areas where there's not other permanent makeup artists, or and they're just isolated. They
Yeah.
and they just don't have that connectivity with other artists. And in conferences like yours provide that. And I think conferences can be really inspiring.
Yeah.
Really inspiring to artists of all ages, all skill levels,
Yes.
all years, no matter how many years you've been in the business. I remember my very first conference, and I was I think I was I was 2 years into PMU, And 2 years into PMU, and I remember my very first conference and the feeling. I can actually go back and still feel that feeling.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with conferences like that moment.
Yeah.
And so I still am. I love conferences. People people ask us all the time, are conferences worth it?
Yeah.
You know, because it's expensive, especially nowadays, you know, with the economy. Airfare is expensive. Hotels have all, you know, even in our city, you know, the hotels have all gone up. Maybe even ticket prices have gone up because it's probably more expensive for you now to put on a conference, right? So it's expensive. And so we get asked all the time, is it worth it? And my constant answer is yes, it's worth it. Do you know? But I think they have to decide what they're going there for.
Exactly.
You know, like
what their expectations are.
What their expectations
I agree.
Right? Some people have unrealistic expectations, like they think they're going to learn procedure inside and out and leave that conference and be able to go execute an eyeliner or something like that. So that can be a little unrealistic.
Right.
I kind of always looked at conferences as like a buffet of topics and procedures. You're getting like your toe dipped in a little bit, and you get to know that artist, that trainer, and they're introducing you to eyeliner removal or needle or whatever it is, and that allows the artist, the young artist, to you know, does that resonate with them? Is this something that, man, this is fascinating to me. I want to go learn more. You know.
And we hear that. We've had people attend and they say, you know, certain topic, they're like, that's not something I thought I would want to get into. But then they hear the presentation and they're so excited. And they're like, oh, I want to learn that. And that's why we do it. And then on top of that, we include business topics, marketing topics, because so many people get in the industry and they think business is just going to fall on their lap. It's not. It's hard to find clients.
Well, it's marketed like that in our industry.
Yeah, it's not that easy.
It's not easy to build a clientele and start earning income. And I think the average income is, there was just a study done last year, and I think the average income was like $50,000 a year.
That's what I saw too.
Yeah. But if you watch Instagram, you know, and you know, with some of these, you know, trainings, and you know, they'll have you think you can be earning, you know, a six-figure income in 6 weeks just by taking their classes. So I think a lot of people do get into the industry, and then they're sadly they're, you know, they're faced with, you know, reality. It can take, you know 5-6 years to build a consistent clientele. You know. Where you can actually, you know, pay your bills and don't have to work a second job. I mean, so
it's like any business. You have to start off slow and you work your way up. And then on top of that, we even bring we have a legal topic too, like how to protect yourself legally. I see through my daughters, the younger girls anyways, they're like, oh, that's not going to happen. Like, no, you can get sued. Like, you have to protect your copyright. You have to protect you. You have to have E&O insurance. We have insurance companies coming. We have a plastic surgeon coming. He's going to talk about identifying and avoiding problematic clients. That tends to happen.
That is a great topic. I talk about that on this podcast.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
I do. And then sometimes I'm like, ooh, I hope some of my clients weren't listening.
Well, hopefully they don't know it was them.
No, we're always a little vague. We just give scenarios, but you know, I've tattooed over like 20,000 procedures at this point. You know, and thank goodness, most people are good. Most of your clients are a joy. But there's always that 5% that, you know, it can be a nightmare. They can be litigious. They can go on Yelp and try to destroy your business with bad review. It's horrible. So I think those are all really, really important, really important topics. Let me see, what else do I get on my list here?